what was the standards we played? Do you recall that we try and attempt once?
I think it was John Coltrane Equinox. I'm not 100% sure, but this
Yeah, it's
is,
Equinox.
if memory
Fantastic.
serves.
Yes, correct. Fantastic memory. Now I forgot. I still don't play properly though.
I haven't attempted it since, so.
Okay, at least I don't feel so guilty. Okay, I'm Andrea Valenti. I'm Italian of origin. I've been living in Belgium for 12 years in Brussels, where I actually met Ivo. And well, I guess that the line of my career was difficult organizational challenges. So that all that is the connection dots within all my opportunities and works. So I have been working initially in a small aerospace contractor, and I was the first sysadmin. Then I worked with the WKTS. I was the Scruver at the time, and I started one of the first team of infrastructure. And it keep happening that I have been challenged by a situation where or the team was to be built or to be recovered, and that kept happening for whatever reason. The hiring manager sees something in me of masochism that like this kind of context, and or there is a burnout team that actually on emergency restaffing, or if there is a very difficult or challenging acquisition, they come my way. So that's a bit the reason why I keep getting opportunities is to restructure and rebuild teams, most of it as a side
Wow.
effect of, apparently, but because the job is still no operation or DevOps or site reliability engineering.
So you never get bored.
Yeah, I don't know if I would be super happy in a totally flat situation where everything is working perfectly. Outside the fact that it's hard that you can find such a place. I mean, there is obviously nothing that is working perfectly for long enough. We have been through. It's a very, as I said at the beginning, it's a very dynamic organization. So we went through many organizational changes. So when I joined a specific organization that had its own challenges of the operational capacity, and so every 2 years I got confronted with a change. So in every single place, I had to confront with a lot of culture limitation, both in the definition of the job, what the SRE or the operation or the DevOps need to be doing in an organization, and their capacity to relate to the other teams, and then obviously within the merger themselves. So thanks to this experience, because nothing happened, super by accident. So I start to develop an approach to be able to confront those situations, and I start to grow the idea that even within a less dynamic place, change is inevitable, and if you really want to operate fast environments, you need to prepare your culture upfront and the mechanism, the organization, how actually it can navigate those waters, because they are very, very difficult waters most of the time. To rebuild the culture, we had to start is a word that everybody uses, to cross pollinate, right? That is what is everybody mouth. It's funny because the cross pollination, when analyzed a bit more, is different in how it is. It can be within two flowers. It can be within the same flower. We can rotate personnel within the same team, between teams of the same domain, or in between domains, and they need to coexist continuously so a person can experience multiple things, and that help us, for example, to be ready to move around people. It's not uncommon that the vision of a specific year can be a bit fuzzy, right? What is usually asked is to reorganize departments to focus on something else. And usually you hear the noise of the cranking of it, right? That nobody is able to refocus, to move personnel anywhere, because it's too impacting. You have to prepare the personnel. They have to be understanding what changes, and they have to be ready for that. We start to consider that as a dangerous problem that we want to address, and we start to have this significant rotation. So you get this list of tasks you have to do in your room. You go one by one. You actually do, I don't know, 10, 20, and you don't even know what you actually have achieved. And you haven't interacted with almost anybody. So you went down this tunnel vision of operation that you have to do something without any context. That was a dangerous logic, especially for operation, because we touch critical systems. So having somebody completely narrow-minded down a tunnel of nonsense it can be dangerous, taking down systems or making mistakes in customer data. The rotation helped to and the cross pollination helped to provide context to these people, because they now start to see not just their own area of work but the area of work of everybody else. And by working on their activity, not only they bring fresh eyes to their work, but at the same time they start to build a relationship that make them understanding the other team, because there is nothing like suffering with somebody else to understand why they do certain things. Now, especially in engineering, where there is a lot of religion in which my way is the way. Then most of us realize, well, that even though that is not the best technology ever, it was really fitting in that situation by working with the situation.
How does it feel to be such a person? Because when you're a developer, you create something and then people use it. And in this case, you do the same kind of work only to keep things going.
Yeah, yeah. Well, but that's a bit of the shift. We start to look at what we do as a product, or of what we offer, right? So infrastructure is becoming some sort of product to an extent, but it's painful because is not a popular position. It's not a very sexy position to an extent, because we are known only when there is a major outage. So our capacity is to be less visible as possible. That means that everything is working smoothly. But unfortunately, the moment you speak with us is because only something goes wrong. So we have this kind of, uh, relational issue with everybody, that we are presented only in a negative situation. Then some of us like the adrenaline of an incident to an extent. The need of intervening and coordinating is also an incredible amount of fun, because suddenly you can coordinate whoever. There is you become the incident commander, and then everybody else that during your day by day is of a hierarchy higher is now at your disposal. Everybody has to see what it is. It has the twofold reason. Is one, every share the pain is a key factor in a team. We all have to share that amount of pain. We also all need to understand what is our problem. So then when we go to the more scheduled part, we can connect what we need to do to avoid our next duty to be much less painful. So automation, improvements that are required to limit and control that part. And then the third part is that you work with all the rest of the organization and within your colleagues. And as double advantage, obviously, the first one, I'm building the next larger rotation this way, because that is becoming the pillar for me and for the organization to start to move this personnel across the application. Because now we make a base of knowledge. Everybody knows, even by osmosis, is enough to look at what it is, the day-to-day life of another group. It can be enough by osmosis. I don't really need that they operate. They need to see and live that to understand. And after a few months, usually start to click and they start to operate. And after a few months, they're actually, as everybody else said, they become totally movable items, or person in this case, obviously. But from a conceptual point of view, everybody can work everywhere. Usually engineers are very happy on this, because they're not stuck in that application. They can see other things. It's very enriching. You see different ways, different technology continuously. So I tend to have a very little attrition, because they are very enriched by this. So we keep also rotating through projects. So you don't get assigned a project forever. You get assigned a period of that project, and then you rotate to another project. If you want to stay, I mean, again, there is a lot of autonomy also in deciding the rotation. If somebody is really interested in the specific, we have no issue to rotate, to leave that person. If there are two, we leave two and we rotate one. We cannot allow them to continue forever, the three or four of them, but we are open to accommodate. Sometimes, if somebody is super excited of a specific one, we don't want to make any unnecessary cruelty on the person. But usually they rotate. They rotate. Actually, we have been growing only primarily by referral or by internal acquisition, and we have like only a 20% of market search that we need to keep the thing fresh and to get more, no, fresh blood and fresh eyes to see how things are. I really have never ever found something that was really perfect because again, we forget that there is a context shift as well. So the process or the activity can be perfect in a vacuum or in the previous context, but the context change is that delivering the same now that we have to do something else. It just happened for me to apply my passion of sociological study to what I do. It is not the other way around. If I would have done something else, most probably I would apply the same principle to my day-to-day realm. We have been a Kanban team from the beginning. That is not a process that is very well known, that is very driven towards efficiency and flow of work, right? And the amount of work you can carry at any given time. So there are, as a built-in sense of focus. But over time, we ended up detaching the throughput from the value of what we were doing. So why now that we are looking at is how we actually start to deliver the sense of value to the teams. So we are changing a lot of our metrics, measurements from a purely throughput oriented concept to a value oriented concept. It's very hard because most of our reporting upstream are based on throughput. Again, I don't care if you do five phases of project. Phase one has to have a meaning. No, it's a good example. No, most of the project were break down by phase one, phase two, phase three, and then project is complete. It was very hard to determine what did we achieve by phase one, and it has to be tangible. It's not just like half of the bridge. I can't use it. Today we are really focusing on this value deliverable of the metrics because it has a large impact also culturally because we have to, or organizationally because we shifting from a throughput oriented organization. How many tickets have you done? 10, 15. To what have you done? Well, I washed those clothes, not 10 clothes. I don't know. I was 10 socks. I don't care. I don't need them. I have them. It is a large shift, especially in a relationship with the others.